Hello and welcome back. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Lexi Jong, and here I like to focus on luxury makeup. Today we're going over one of the new Dior Quints, and this is number 279 Denim. And I really like this Quint. So far, I actually really like all of the ones I have tried. I've tried Soft Cashmere, Tutu, which I also have mixed into my current eye look, and Jungle. So Denim was the next on my list, and I have to say this one is definitely going to be more pigmented. They're stronger colors than the other ones that I have used. Just a little bit of information about this product. These new Quints are 7 grams or 0.24 ounces, and they have an approximate shelf life of 6 months, which is very short for a powder product. However, the old formula also had a 6-month shelf life, and the palettes were good much longer than that. So let's go ahead and start off with some swatches. These are the top 3 shades. And these are the bottom 2 shades. So you can see that this denim palette isn't just blue. There are also greens mixed in, but each of the greens mixed in here has a bluish undertone to it. So we've got this nice bright electric blue here, and I think it is a gorgeous blue. I really like this. This one is going to have a satin sheen to it, but it's not shimmery. Then we have this teal green, and these two look fairly similar, but this one up here has a little bit more blue in it, and it's a little bit more shimmery. The one in the middle, it looks more tan in the pan, but when you put it on your skin, it's really much more of a golden champagne shade. So there's a little bit of a tan base, but for the most part, it's really just this beautiful soft shade with a touch of gold. And then this is a more satin version of this with a little bit more depth. There's a little bit more green in this shade as well. So it's a little bit deeper, a little bit greener, and more satin, less shimmer. And last up, this is going to be one of the matte shades. It's a deep blue, and it's not a flat matte. There's a little bit of a satin sheen, but not quite as much as these two. Now you can see when I kind of spread these two out that this deeper green does not have a black base. It looks like it's more of a gray base, whereas this deep blue does have a black base. So when I blended this out, it does not blend away to black, which is something good to note with these types of shadows. All of the shades in this Quint blend beautifully. They all perform wonderfully. I have absolutely no complaints about them. There's, minimal fallout with these shades. They've got a beautiful luster to them. And again, they're just a dream to work with. So with the Jungle palette, I did have a little bit of patchiness with the deep green matte shade in there, but I have to say that all of these shades, even the deep ones, blend out beautifully. There's no patchiness with them. They're incredibly smooth. And I really, really love this formula. These are definitely going to be a bit more pigmented than the other palettes that I have currently tried so far. And the colors are pretty true to the pan. I have 3 eye looks that I'm going to share with you now, 2 using just denim, and then the third one is what I have on today, and that is going to combine the Dior Tutu palette, which is number 769, with it. So I used the 2 purple shades from the Tutu palette along with denim. And that's one of the things I really like about this denim palette is it works great on its own. If you want something, let's face it, you're not going to get a super soft look with denim. You can, but if you want to truly utilize those blue shades and so forth, it's going to have some impact because let's face it, blue shadows are typically pretty noticeable. However, this palette is also a great companion palette to other color stories. I like it with Tutu. I think it will look beautiful with Jungle, with some regular shadows that you already have in your collection and I already have in mine. It's just a very great versatile palette. So if you're interested in blues and blue-green shades, I think this is a great palette to pick up because not only is the formula great, but these colors just work so nicely with others. An additional note I'd like to make is I have tested these shadows wet, and they will just punch up the color just a tad. It gives it a little bit more of a sheen to it, but the actual color that you're getting is going to be pretty similar. So getting them wet is not going to make them like significantly darker or brighter or anything. These colors are pretty true, and making them wet, they perform just as nicely. Let's go ahead and go over the 3 eye looks. And also, if you haven't checked out Yachty Beauty, check her out. She has the most gorgeous eye look. I did kind of a soft version in my second look that's reminiscent of that, but I didn't do what she did. Her eye look is gorgeous. So if you're looking for something dramatic and bright and light using this quad, you want to check her out. So I will link her channel here. Using Refer 15, I'm going into this camel shade in the middle, just a little bit. You can see as I'm applying it, it does have a little bit of a satin sheen to it. Not shimmery. It's hard to decide what to play with here. I think I'm going to go into this. This is the T7 from Chantecaille. Wow, I'm very lightly putting this on. It's definitely a pigmented shade. Oh, I love this. Using the same brush, I'm going into the deeper green. Just going to apply this on the outer half. Wiping off the brush, I'm going into this bright blue, and I'm going to stick this right in the middle, in between those two. Just wiped that brush off, even though you can't really tell, and I'm just tapping the edges between the colors there just to have a little bit better of a transition. Back in with Refer 15, and I'm going to add just a little bit more of this, very tiny bit, and just buff the crease again. There's not really a great inner corner highlight for this. That doesn't bother me. I'll just use what highlight I use on my face, but I am going to use this deep blue for liner. I'm going to take a drop of the Inglot Duraline, and I'm using the Refer 23 brush. It's just a skinny pencil brush, and I'm going to get this a little wet before mixing in the deep blue. So just a drop, and I'm just going to dampen the brush on my hand. And I'm turning the brush as I use it to make sure I'm getting the pigment off of all sides. For the remainder of the lower lash line, I'm actually going to go in with this shade here in the middle. And this is the Synergy Builder 1. So now that I have that down as a base, I'm just going to take a touch of this shade here and put this on the outer portion and then blend it all the way over. So I'm wiping my brush off after I lay that down, and now I am spreading the product. This is it for the eye look up close. I will add some highlighter to right under the brow arch and the inner corner, but I will show you that with the distance shot. This is the final look from a distance. So for the inner corner highlight and brow highlight, I added the Simply Gold shade from the Guerlain Meteorites Pearl Dust palette. On my cheeks, I have the Suku Blush Palette 101 in a mix of these two shades here. And then for highlight, I used the Clé de Peau Holiday Highlight. And on my lips, I have the Chanel Lip Liner in Bois de Rose and the Ultra Tenue Duo in Light Mauve, which is number 172. Today we're starting off with the Sonia G Crease 2, and I'm going to go into this deepest blue shade, and I'm just going to get a tiny bit on here and kind of buff this lightly into the crease. So I saw Yachty Beauty. She did a gorgeous look with this quad quint, where basically she used this shade in the middle kind of as a halo in the center, and you know, she used concealer and everything underneath it, and it just looked absolutely gorgeous. So I want to do something a little similar to that, but not exactly the same thing. And you know, I'm gonna keep mine a little bit lighter. Hers is gorgeous and dramatic, but I don't want to copy her, so we'll do something similar for this, and I'll play around with her look another time. I'm gonna take this shade. This is the Sonia G Worker 3, and I'm going to get just a little bit of this on the flat edge, and I'm going to very lightly pat it. So I'm just getting a little bit. It's actually a very pigmented shade, but I just want a little touch of this in the center of the lid. I wiped off that brush, and I'm going into the shade right next to that. And I'm going to put this in the inner corner. Just kind of tap at the edges here. I wiped the brush off, but I'm going to use the other side that I didn't use. I'm going to go into the middle, and I'm going to layer this over the blue in the center. And I'm stretching this all the way to the outer corner. Just taking the other side of the brush, no additional shadow or anything, but just patting over where everything meets. Now going back to the crease 2, I'm going to go back into this deep blue, and again, just getting a little bit here. I'm going to dab this on the outer corner, just very lightly to kind of deepen that up, and then just kind of blend into the crease a bit. Going back in with the Worker 3, going back into the middle shade here, I'm just going to take a little bit and lightly pat it over the top, just so I have the same kind of shimmer over the inner corner. So this is my take on a more subdued version of Yachty Beauty's look, and I do have her video linked, so take a look at that. It's absolutely stunning. To line the eyes, I'm taking the Sonia G Smudger one in the deep blue. This is going on the upper lash line, just really close. This is kind of like a thicker smudge brush, just so you can still kind of see that color kind of emphasized, but I'm trying to stay close to lashes. Wiping the brush off, I'm going to do a mix between this shade and this shade for the lower lash line. So I'm just going into the deep shade a little bit first, and then on top of this one. So I'm just getting a little bit more depth in this color. Just going to there with it. Now I wipe the brush off, and I'm going to go into this more satiny shade in the middle, brown. And I'm starting at the middle under the eye on top of the blue and green. And I'm just going to smudge everything together a little. Just wiping the brush off and no shadow, just blending this. So if you wanted to keep this a little bit more subdued, you know, I would leave off all of this deep color on the lower lash line and maybe just use like a regular pencil liner or even nothing, you know, just like a little bit of dusting of one of these shades. But there we go. I'm going to add some mascara and stuff, and then I will show you distance shot. This is the final eye look from a distance. So I added the Guerlain Matte Eyes Mascara in shade brown and the Chantecaille Brightening Eye Kaujal in nude on the lower waterline and on the inner corner. Then on my cheeks, I have the Suku Blush Single in shade 4 and the Clé de Peau Holiday Highlighter, as well as on my lips, I have the Pat McGrath Lip Pencil in Half Naked and the Hermes lipstick in Rose Nuit. This is the matte shade for the new limited edition lipsticks. Thank you. Starting off with the Refer 16 in the shade in the middle. And today I'm going to be pairing this palette with the Tutu palette with some purples. Using the Tutu palette in a deep purple with Refer 14, and this is just a small crease brush. Just getting a little bit up and adding this lightly to the crease. Tapping a little bit on the outer corner as well. Back in with the Refer 15 and just blending those edges a little bit. Next, I'm taking the Wayne Goss number 6 in this greenish shade. I'm gonna put this on the outer portion, so the second half. And just kind of feathering it in a little bit more. Wiping off the brush, I'm going into this Wisteria shade here. Look at where they overlap. I love that effect. Next up, I wiped off the brush. I'm going into the topper from the Tutu palette. Just getting some on there and dabbing it right in the center here. So if I use my finger, I'd get a little bit more impact, but I just want a soft glisten. Back with the Refer 13 or 14, sorry. And I'm just going into the crease. No shadow. I'm going to line the lashes with this bright blue using the Sonia G Soft Shader. Just think this will give it something a little bit more unexpected. For the lower lash line, I'm just using any residue left on the brush. I want to keep it a little bit lighter and brighter today. I'm going to take a small dab of the Wisteria shade and put this on the inner portion of the lower lash line. I'm taking the Linda Hallberg Atria Flash Crayon, and this is just a blue, like a deep royal blue, and I'm putting this right in the waterline. This is the final look up close, and I'm gonna finish off the look. I'm just gonna add a little inner corner highlight. This is the Sonia G Pencil 1 brush, and I'm going into the Suku Cheek Palette 101 in the pink highlight. Just gonna add a little bit of this to the inner corner, and then what's left right under the brow arch. So this is the final look from a distance. And And I finished off the rest of my face using a mix of these two shades. For blush, the Guerlain Meteorites in Light, I used this highlight on my cheeks, and on my lips I have a mix of the Chantecaille lip veils in Plumeria and Tamarind. If you haven't subscribed to my channel yet, please hit the subscribe and notification bell so you will be notified anytime there is a new video. And as you can see from the looks and from what I shared with you earlier, I absolutely love this palette. So I think it's a great palette as a standalone and great as a companion palette. And I have to say that all of these formulas applied beautifully. There is no true topper shade in this one. Soft Cashmere and Tutu both had a topper shade in the upper right corner. These are all much more pigmented. So like this shade here on Tutu, it's really more, not a clean finger. So it's really more of a topper. You can see how soft and glittery and light that is. This quad doesn't have that. So it, you know, if you're looking for like an inner corner highlight, I personally think that this shade in the middle, for me, it doesn't work super well as an inner corner highlight. It has too much color to it. It's too muted and kind of champagne tan in base. So for me, I like to use whatever highlight I'm using on my face, I typically use in the inner corner with this quad. And as I mentioned, you know, it's great as standalone and it's great as a companion palette, so you can't go wrong. So that's it. There's really nothing else to say about this palette. It's a great palette. The colors are pigmented. The formula is fantastic. And you can't go wrong if you like blues and greens. And I love it. Now, I still feel like Jungle and Denim, between the two of them, we're still missing some shades of green that I would love to have in a Quint. So hopefully Dior will put out an all green Quint with some other shades that these two have kind of, you know, bypassed. So hopefully that will be something coming in the future, but I really, really love these. Thank you so much for joining me, and I hope you have a great day, and I will see you soon.